All right, going live. Hey, what is going on YouTube? It's the brain of the mainframe, Niall Scala here for a wonderful Sweet 16 celebration with our 16th episode. Billy, my friend, my pal, my compadre, how are we doing tonight?
Doing great, bro. Sweet 16. All right. Who would have thought we would have made it?
Sweet 16, brother.
Yeah, I apologize, everybody out there. I know we had a whole bunch of people watching. I just apologize. YouTube dicked us over. I don't know what happened with that.
Yeah, they kept bouncing us back, but third time's a charm, and we are here with a great show, a great guest. I had the pleasure of meeting this guy back in at TERRIFICON last year, and just a wonderful guy. And Billy, without further ado, my friend, actually, really quick, sad news today.
Yeah, real sad news.
Real sad news today.
Yep.
Chewbacca.
Yeah,
passing away.
Passed away. And he was a staple at a lot of cons, and seemed like a very nice man, and but he seemed like a very unhealthy person. I remember seeing him 20 years ago at shows.
Yeah.
And he just, with his hip problems and his knees, and he just, he always seemed to be in pain. But it's a sad day for the Star Wars, for the world of Star Wars and fandom all across the fruited plain and all across the globe. This beautiful blue world, but hey. What are you going to do?
Day.
And he was only 64 or something?
He was 74. 74.
Oh, sorry. 74. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I'm ready to go at 74. And our next guest certainly will be here around when he's 74 because he looks like he's 25 years old still. But why don't we get to him? He's probably one of the best people I've ever met in comics in the industry, and he's perfect for our Sweet 16 episode. But you know what? This is a special episode because our guest is being carried in by demigods, a giant cake, music blaring, teenage tantrums, and a review of a new car that a teenager should not be driving. Marat Mychaels was born in Kiev, Russia. He grew up in Los Angeles, where he got his interest in comics and started working as a store clerk at Golden Apple for the Leibowitzes. It was there, though, that he was discovered by Rob Liefeld, and he became his assistant. So, Marat, even though he looks like he's 25 years old, he's been working in comics for over 25 years. He's worked on many of the Image titles, including Supreme, Knightmare, Blindside, and Demonslayer. After that, he moved on to the big time, where he worked for Marvel on, the Deadpool Corps, X-Force, Shatterstar. And then he went to DC, worked on Hawk and Dove and Grifter. And he currently, has moved from Los Angeles to beautiful Phoenix, Arizona, where my wife wants to move to. And he's a freelance illustrator, a much in demand cover artist, big time at convention circuit, and he started his own publishing company, Counterpoint Comics, with his successful line of books, of course, like You Pooh, Savage Eve, Poohnisher, and of course Hardlee Thinn. So where is he, Marat? Are you here, buddy? There he is. Hey!
There he is. The man of the hour.
How you guys doing?
Good,
What's
man.
up? So I apologize for our for a little technical difficulties. It seems to happen every couple of episodes. But
time to clean up my office.
Well, well, listen. First of all, congrats on the Kickstarter.
Yes.
You've got in only 15 days, bro. You've exploded from your 5,000 initial goal to almost 45 grand. So
yeah, we actually just passed 45 while we were having technical difficulties.
Oh, boom!
Oh, that's fantastic.
Well, congratulations and well deserved. But we'll get to that. We'll get that soon. But let's go back to the beginning if we can.
Sure.
Because I don't know if you know, I'm a huge World War II buff.
Chocolate convention.
Kiev, the city, it's pronounced Kiev, right?
Yeah.
And now the city that you were born in has seen some of the most. It's got such an incredible history. In 1941, when the Nazis invaded, that was a major battle site, and they actually ended up encircling an entire Soviet army. But then 2 years later, the Soviets pushed back, and Kiev was their tip of the spear. and they went roughshod and just kicked some serious Nazi ass. But anyway, we can get to that another time. But that's when I hear Kiev. That's what I think
I
of.
had no idea.
What's that?
That was a history lesson. I had no idea.
Oh no, you guys are tough, man. You know, damn Russians. Give them some vodka and a saber, you know, and a rifle. Forget it. But anyway, let's get back. So how did you get from Russia? Even though you know you were born there, how'd you make your way to the United States, and of all states, of course, sunny California and Los Angeles?
We were actually refugees.
Oh wow.
We had relatives that lived here in California, so it was about a 3-month journey, I believe. We went from Russia to Austria, and then we spent a couple of months in Italy, and then New York for a day, and then California to go live with my uncle. It was 4 of us in an apartment, and we came here. It was me, my mom, and my dad, 1 suitcase, and $500.
The American dream.
Wow.
Look at that.
Yeah, no, it kind of really is.
Yeah.
It is possible. I mean, and now look at you.
Yeah.
You made $45,000 in 15 days.
Yeah, no, it's pretty insane. But that's
shabby.
That's not me. That's the fans. That's amazing people that support us. So,
well, that's a testament to your talent and your personality. And you know, Niall, I mean, we've been doing this for a long time, and we met a little over a year ago and became buds.
Mm-hmm.
But you've been involved in the comics industry for a long time. I've been involved for as long as Marat has, and and I get everyone has their own problems, have their own things going on, but Marat's always got a smile on his face. I'll see him in the gym at conventions, you know what I mean, in the mornings, and he's tapped into his NSYNC and his 19
his LFO.
Kicked on the block. But he's always got a smile on his face. I was lucky enough that at both, not at Phoenix, but at TERRIFICON, we were next to each other at TERRIFICON.
Yes.
We were a few people away at Phoenix show, but I mean the respect he shows the fans, and like I said, you met him, right? I mean,
just sat down and just started talking. I mean, he's just a stand-up guy. Even when I spilled my coffee on the floor, everyone was fine.
All over his
my coffee so many times. Figured it was payback.
Yeah.
There you go.
So anyway, so Nyla, why don't you take it away since I always end up dominating the conversation?
So Marat, I kind of want to know like your origin story, like how you got. So when did you start drawing? What were you drawing? How did you get into the drawing?
I was always, my mom tells me, a creative kid. My dad is an amazingly talented man. God rest his soul. He could wood carve. He was a great carpenter. He played the guitar. He sang. He oil painted, and he worked in construction. So I always drew as a kid. When I was in Russia, there wasn't, like, they had like 3 channels, and basically you watched what they allowed you to watch. And when I was in Italy was the first time I discovered superheroes. I saw like those old 60s Spider-Man cartoons, and
cool.
Blew my little kid mind. Like, this 6-year-old, I had those little, I don't know if you guys remember them, those little cowboys that you can take apart into like 3 pieces. So I would take them apart, and I would take a little piece of paper, and I would draw like Spider-Man's uniform, and I'd bend it over and clip him back in so he kind of looked like Spider-Man. And
oh, nice.
I mean, they had that, and they showed like all the giant robot cartoons, and I mean, like, talk about your mind just. So from that point on, once we got to America, it was drawing Battlestar Galactic cruisers, the Star Trek ship, Spider-Man, Batman, all the stuff I saw on TV. I didn't really start buying comics till I was in about 6th grade.
Oh, okay. So how old were you when you came to the U.S. exactly?
6 years old.
You're 6 years old. Okay.
Yeah.
And so it was about 6th grade, you're saying, was when you're kind of more formally introduced to comic books?
Yeah, I used to go down to the Golden Apple to buy trading cards, like, for years, but I never had any interest in the comic books for some reason, even though I loved all the TV stuff and I collected action figures and all that kind of stuff. But in 6th grade, I was playing Dungeons and Dragons, and my dungeon master handed me a comic book called Christar, whatever it was called. And I went down to the local newsstand, actually, to buy the next issue, and saw X-Men 173. It's the one with Wolverine and Rogue on the cover. And picked it up, bought it, went home, and that was it.
That was it.
That's
Completely immersed in everything comic books. And
awesome.
I started going down to the Golden Apple, which was only a couple of blocks away from where I live. And after about 3 months, the assistant manager told me, said, "Look, you're in here every day. You don't buy anything. Do you want a job?" And I said, yes. And he was like, well, I think I was like 11 or 12. And he said, well, we can't pay you, but we'll give you store credit. So all day long, I'd bag and board.
Yeah.
Bag and board comics for store credit.
That's cool, man. That's a cool store owner. I mean, to recognize a child coming in. No, you said you weren't really buying, right?
It was the assistant manager.
Or assistant manager.
Yeah.
Well, that's just cool to recognize that and be like, all right, I'll give this kid a little something. This way he can get some books,
Yeah, that is really cool.
I think he kind of picked it up, because we were poor, so my allowance was $1 a week.
Mm-hmm.
And comic books, literally the first week I came in, comic books were 50 cents. And then the following week, they went up to 60 cents. And I was like, oh, shit. Like,
now I can't get two. Yeah.
I was like, now I got to, do math. Like, buy one, carry the 40 cents to the next week, buy two, keep that 20 cents. Like,
wow.
So I think he knew I was like, I was a really shy, docile kid, which people can't believe now, but I was very introverted.
Yeah.
And, I would just go in there and look at comics all day, or as much as I could. And yeah, I think he saw a kid they could trust, and,
So what did you gravitate towards? I mean, when you were that age, starting to explore comics, let's say, like were you gravitating towards more of the Marvel characters, the DC stuff, or even more indie stuff?
Oh, I was a Marvel zombie.
Marvel zombie?
Yeah, it was first it was Paul Smith's X-Men.
Mm-hmm.
I had this weird thing where I had to have everything like in compartments. So it was like Paul Smith's X-Men. Once I got that full run and I was current, I went back and I had to get all of John Byrne's X-Men, but those were expensive. Even back then, for a kid, if a book is $7.50 or $10, you're like, oh, that's a lot of bags and boards for one individual issue. So I was kind of, trying to collect all John Byrne's X-Men, and then I was a weird kid. I loved watching Batman and Robin. No, I was weird because I actually liked Robin, not Batman. So.
In the 66 series.
Yeah.
Oh, really?
I'm with you. I liked Robin.
It might have been the tiny underwear. I don't know. But I got a beautiful fiance. I've been straight my whole life. So
that worked. That's a good choice.
But then,
just inspired your nighttime attire. That's all.
Yeah, exactly. A lot of underwear. But then I got into George's Teen Titans run, Marvin George's Teen Titans. And again, I was like, oh, Robin becomes Nightwing, perfect jumping on point. And then I got addicted to that, and I went back, 44, 43, 42, 41, all the way till number 1. And after that, I mean, the beauty of working on Golden Apple was I was exposed to all the indies.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I love books like Elementals when that first came in, and I remember when Turtles #1 came in.
Yeah, they were big supporters of the indie.
No, Bill Leibowitz, who was the owner at the time, he definitely was. So, and it was a great store because, I mean, on any day, Roy and Dan Thomas, I believe that was his ex-wife's name, they would come in all the time. Dave Stevens would come in there all the time. Nicolas Cage used to buy his comics there.
Oh, wow.
Oh,
so
wow, that's cool.
So you would get to see all these celebrities, and you would also be there for the big signings too, right?
Yeah, oh yeah. Bill had this big plexiglass, which I think you can still see if you go into the store now, and he would have all the guests do a drawing on there, and I was this little kid holding the plexiglass in the back for Frank Miller, and he's giving me storytelling advice.
Wow.
Like, oh man, I'm getting storytelling advice from Frank Miller,
Yeah.
I'd have Howard Chaykin be in there every week and, telling me not to waste my time. Everybody else.
Did you ever tell him that story? Have you ever talked to him about it?
Yeah, no, Howard's a great guy. We were at Albuquerque Comic-Con, actually, where you were at. I sat right next to Howard. We, shot the shit for a while, and he's a funny guy.
cuddly curmudgeon.
Yeah, definitely.
So how long did you work at this store?
Till I was about 16.
Mm-hmm.
And then I got let go because I was young and dumb, and I stole a comic book.
Nah.
Oh, I was going to ask you, when did you steal something?
Yeah, no, it was about 16 years old, and I did something stupid, and I was banned for a while, and then, once I got into comics, Bill realized I was a stupid kid, and, we mended fences, and I'm on really good terms with Sharon, his surviving wife, and his son Ryan is a buddy of mine. So yeah, sins of the youth.
Yeah. What book was it that you stole, if you don't mind me?
Better be something good.
You laugh. Well, this is how dumb I was. I stole a Cherry Pop-Tart #1, which was an underground comic, but worth a lot of money.
Oh my God! Yes, okay. You didn't take something that there was a whole bunch of issues of, like Spider-Man.
And being a dummy, I took it to another comic store to sell. Except this store didn't just offer you money. They took the book, took down your name and number, and then they would look it over, and then they would call you and tell you, hey, this is what we're willing to pay for this book. If you want it, come in and pick up your money. If not, come in with your claim ticket, and we'll give you the book back. Well, this guy got this rare comic book, and he called Bill and was like, and to be honest, there was more than one comic book. It was a small stack.
Oh, yeah.
Like, oh, Bill, you got to check out this collection I just got in. So Bill walks in and he goes, that's funny. I have a very similar collection on consignment at my store. And he goes back to the Golden Apple and realizes that is the collection that he had on consignment at his store. And I got called in, and he went and sat down and talked to my parents. And
he's a big dude. Bill was a really big man.
Was a big dude.
Yeah, imposing, right? So
totally imposing, but a sweetheart.
Yeah.
Sweetheart.
Yeah.
And, and I mean, in all honesty, they probably let me off pretty easy in retrospect. And, yeah, so I did jail time for about, 5 years away from the Golden Apple, and then I got back in.
Oh, that stinks, man.
Oh,
you must
man.
you ever ride your bike by and you look at the store and back then.
You got to own your stuff, right? You do the time. I was done. I did it.
We all do stupid stuff, I'll tell you that.
And were you drawing comics at this time too? Like, is this when you started getting into drawing?
Oh, all the time. Once I started collecting, that was it. It was comics or bust.
Yeah.
There was no backup career. All my tests had the margins on the corner, filled with the art.
Yeah. Yeah.
With no answers where they should be.
Yeah. Yeah.
My art teachers would call me in constantly, going, "You're one of the most talented kids we've ever had in here, but we can't pass you because we tell you to draw a bowl of fruit and you draw Spider-Man swinging through a city." It's beautiful. It's just not the assignment. So, yeah, I mean, this was it for me. It was comics dust.
That's great because you have this. Niall, Marat has this great roller coaster when he's before he's 16 years old or so, and he gets a dream job that any kid would want working at a comic shop. He gets to meet all these great people. I'm sure you've heard some incredibly humorous stories. I mean, now it must have been the end of the world for you. Now we can laugh about it. You know what I mean? But then you get fired from it, but you want to be a comic artist. You know what I mean? Oh my God, right? I mean, it must have been so crushing, right? At the time.
Definitely. I just got lucky because I kind of transitioned. Because when I was 12 years old, I used to go to this local one-day comic show that they held once a month. And I met Rob, who was 16 at the time. And we kind of started communicating, but I was pretty intimidated by him because the thing that's funny about Rob, people go, oh, money or fame changed him. Nope, same Rob I knew when he was 16 years old. He hasn't changed a bit. If you love him, you love him. If you don't like him, you don't like him. But he's the exact same person he's always been. And right around that time, me and Rob started becoming better friends. And he started working for Marvel when I was let go of Golden Apple right around the same time. And, I started coming down to a studio where it was him and Jim Valentino were sharing a studio down in Orange County.
Oh, cool.
And it was amazing because, I mean, Jim Valentino is one of the smartest guys as far as comic books go that you can ever talk to.
Yeah.
I mean, his knowledge of comics, his history, his approach, his perspective is just like, he's a goldmine of information. And so I would go down and Jim and Rob would teach me, you know, how to, you know, look at guys like Jack Kirby and go like, what do you see? And I'd be like, kind of blocky, you know, not very attractive. They're like, you're not seeing what you're supposed to see. And they would teach me like, look at the storytelling, look at the staging, look at the action. Mm-hmm. And I'd go home and I'd go, oh my God, like, that's why he's the king. Like, so it was awesome because it was kind of almost a smooth transition into the next evolution of, you know, an aspiring artist. So yeah, so it was an up and a quick down, but then like up right back.
So when you met Rob before you met Jim, and he was 16 or so, now was he? You guys were just both fans, just kids walking around the show, or did he get a table and was selling sketches, you know, that sort of thing?
When I met him, he was just walking around the show with a portfolio. This local show we used to go to, Bruce Patterson was there every month, who used to ink a bunch of stuff over at DC in the 80s.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And Rob would show up and he'd hire Bruce to ink some of his pieces, you know, just for his own personal satisfaction to see his work professionally inked. And, you know, so I'd see him and I'd say hi and, you know, check out his portfolio. Because at that time, there was a couple of guys that were local that like kind of all the upcoming comic guys that wanted to be artists knew Rob was one of them. Mm-hmm. So you always kind of wanted to see what new he had. He was also involved in this fanzine called Yappa, I believe it was called. It was like a Titans fanzine that they put out every month, him and Hank Canals. So my buddy got involved in that. I didn't, but my buddy did. So I would always kind of want to see the new fanzine, the new Yappa. So yeah, I just kind of, you know, knew him, you know, just kind of.
Yeah. So then how did you start? Now you would go down to the studio to go visit them and they'd give you pointers and you'd hang out. How did you end up start working with them?
Right as I graduated high school, Rob was looking for an assistant and he was like, hey, do you want a job as an assistant? And I was like, yeah. And like it was basically in LA traffic. It was like an hour and a half to 2 hour drive each way a day. And the pay sucked. But I was like, this is my chance. And my mom was like, what are you doing? You just graduated high school.
Yeah.
And I was like, Mom, this is like the mailroom at a corporation. I'm going to work my way up to president. Yeah. And she was, well, you got a year to become president or else you got to move out of here or go to college. And I was like, have you seen my grades? College is much of an option as much as you'd like to think that I'm a smart kid.
Yeah.
I definitely didn't apply myself like I should have in high school. Sorry, it's hot in here. I'm turning on the AC. Anyway, so Rob offered me the job. I jumped at it. And that was awesome because, you know, I was kind of the go-between between him and the editor. So I would get to talk to Bob Harris all the time.
Oh, wow.
You know, Jim Lee and Todd McFarlane would call the studio, Eric Larson. I'd get to talk to them. So again, as an 18-year-old kid, you're like, holy crap, like this is amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And would they come to the studio? Did you get to see them? Did they ever mingle like that?
Not Jim. Todd came down to the studio a couple of times, mm-hmm. and I definitely got to hang out with Todd. And he really, it was funny because Rob had to go somewhere, some family thing, and I was just at the studio working, and Todd was hanging out. He was working, and we started talking. And I mean, it was one of the like best lessons I've ever gotten. And mm-hmm. talking about what he does and how he, you know, what he thinks made him popular. And he was like, tell me to draw anything stupid and I'll make it look cool. And I was like, well, you know, draw Thor in his nose, you know. And Todd drew this Thor and he was standing on a cliff and, you know, he had that crazy arched back and the cape was billowing. It was about 30 feet long. And the wings were like twice the size they're supposed to be. And he went, as Todd goes, I did all the noodlies. And so, the wings, And then he did the hammer, and the hammer was like 3 times as big as it should have been, and he made it all cracky, like it. And it was just like, and in the middle of it, there was Thor picking his nose, but it was like one of the coolest stores I've ever seen. And it really just, it was kind of like, it was like just push it. Whatever you draw, whenever you do your layout, just push everything. Push it to the, no pun intended, push it to the extreme. If a guy's throwing his punch and he's 90% into it, make him 120% into it. If the sword is, 4 feet long, make it 8 feet long. Who cares? It's comic books. It's escapism. It's not supposed to be reality.
Yeah, exactly.
Heroes. It's one thing if you're drawing, like, let's say you, Billy, a World War II book that's based in reality. That's one thing. Make everything realistic. But, if you're fucking drawing Batman, like, Batman, like,
make that cape long. Look at Kirby stuff. Why not?
Like, it's comic books. We have no budget. We can do whatever we want.
Yeah.
I planned it in reality, so that was a great lesson that I learned pretty early on and tried to apply. Worked out well for Todd.
Yeah.
Now you started working on Brigade in the beginning, correct?
Yeah. So Rob came in one day and he was like, we're gonna start our own company. At that point, I think it was just him, Todd, and Valentino.
Mm-hmm.
And he was like, I want to do a spinoff. Do you want to do this Brigade book? And he was like, we don't know how many they're going to sell. I'm not going to pay you out of my own pocket, but you'll get a percentage of sales. And I was like, okay. And again, I was looking at it as it's a break.
Yeah.
Like I wasn't worrying about the money. I was like, I'm going to get published and we'll see where it goes. Like, damn thing almost sold 1 million copies, but I started drawing it. So yeah, we did Brigade. I did about 13 issues of that. Should have probably done about 40 and been a millionaire, but I was young and dumb. I was still 18 years old when I started drawing.
Wow. 18 years old, drawing a book that's selling 1 million copies a month. Oh my God.
Trust me, that's like the thing, people. How your first work, especially your first published work, sucks.
Yeah.
And people, it's like some tiny indie book that nobody can find. Yeah. I'm like, find my first shitty published work all the time. Like, look, there it is. So it is what it is. And it had highs and lows. I mean, you would literally get letters where people are like, you're the next great artist. You're going to be the next Barry Smith. And you go like, this guy's on crack.
Yeah.
Like, thank you. You're on crack. And then I literally got a loogie in the mail. It was in a little plastic baggie, and it was a note that said, your work is terrible. I spit on it. And I was like, this is awesome. Like, this is cool. This is a story.
That's crazy. I love it.
Wow. I mean, that's another good show, is like all the things that we've received in the mail, us guys, and just the responses. Because like I said, some people will just butcher you. You know what I mean?
Oh, yeah.
And they do it like, at least you got it. I had some, people say things to Wizard Magazine about me and stuff. And, I'm like, oh, could ask me that question, jerk off,
Yeah. What's so cool about your story, though, Marat, is like you have that like classic story in a way, like your stardom, that you don't get nowadays. It's almost like that whole, like in the 30s and 40s, if you were talented and stuff, you kind of got invited in to work somewhere, like the apprentice under someone. And it's really cool hearing your story, because it's just like in a time, when you were starting off, like that just wasn't common.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, literally, like, blessed. Like, God was putting me in the right spots for sure. Now, I always say, like, opportunities are great. Whether you take advantage of them or not is a whole different story. I had a buddy who got offered the same assistant job and turned it down the first time because he didn't have a car. I mean, I would have personally taken the bus every day if I had to. I'd have woke up at 3 a.m. jumped the bus. Yeah. He turned it down, and then when Rob needed a second assistant, the guy wouldn't listen to what Rob needed. He would want to do things his way, and I would tell him, I'd be like, hey, you kind of work for him. And this is when Rob's on New Mutants and going into X-Force, so he's already a superstar. I'm like, you're not in comics, and this guy's on.
Yeah.
I'm like, you might want to just do things his way for your paycheck, but again, getting an opportunity is great, and I've definitely been blessed with a lot of them. But I've always thought about the long game. It wasn't the dollar I'm gonna make on this right now, which I still run into a lot of guys who are like, oh, I got to make this money right the second, or I got to get my recognition right the second. I was always like, you know what? I'd rather make 6 weeks from now than 50 cents a day of this particular job. So, I kind of was blessed with a little foresight, I guess. Understanding opportunities don't come around all that often, and when you get a great one, take advantage. So.
Yeah, it's a good message. It's a good message. A lot of people don't have patience today.
How does your mom feel about you today? I know she loves you and everything, but
No, my mom. But it's funny. My she's just one of those kind of old European ladies. Like even, I guess about 7 years ago, I was going through a little, careers go up and down, obviously, and right around 7 years ago, she calls me up. She goes, you're not making as much as you were, and I know work's been a little tough, so I think maybe you should change careers. You got to live your dream, and maybe you should go into like sales. You're really good with people, and maybe sales. And I was like, Mom, I'm like 40 years old. Like this has been my life. I've done decent. Like she's like, yeah, but you did it, so now it's time for something. And luckily, almost right after that is when my self-publishing stuff started picking up steam, and finances kind of shot up the same way. And now she's like, oh my God, can't believe how well you're doing, how good you're doing. I'm so proud. So I'm sure the next downslope, she'll be like, you'd be good as a realtor. Maybe you should start something.
I was just going to say that. She'd be like, oh, why don't you go for your realtor license?
The state always goes up, so that's my mom.
Yeah.
So now you've written, you've penciled, you've done cover art. I mean, out of this, what's your favorite thing to do on these books?
Well, the stuff that I've written I've either plotted or if I've scripted it, it's been pretty silly. Notti and Nyce is kind of tongue-in-cheek, silly book. So kind of want to get a little better at writing and actually write something good. Well, something with a little more depth than Notti and Nyce.
Yeah.
Notti and Nyce is just a bunch of quips back and forth and silliness happening. Covers are fun. Covers are fun because it's like instant gratification.
Yeah.
You sit there, it's whatever, a day or two, however long it takes, and it's done, and people give you all this like, you're awesome, this is beautiful, and you get paid, and you're like, this is great. This is like almost instant gratification for an artist. But comics are about telling stories, and I definitely want to get back to that. And I love, just like we talked about, like setting the mood and blocking out characters and panels, and working the reader through the page without any script. All that classic stuff. When I look at comics today and I go, these guys are amazing illustrators. Fantastic illustrators, but very few of them are really good comic book artists. To me, I'll take a Jack Kirby box car and a great comic book over a beautifully illustrated Tesla that's perfect down to the last, screw.
Yeah.
And it's just like that stuff is great, but you sit there and you take long enough, almost anybody with talent can do it.
And to be able, but the important thing is to tell a story.
Yeah.
It really is great to make a living to be a storyteller for a living. It's really, like I said, same thing. We really are blessed. What a great, great career. What a great achievement. That been able to succeed at it, and it's fun. It's a lot of fun.
Oh, it's a blast. I tell everybody I've been a kid my whole adult life. Like,
Right.
I draw hot chicks in skimpy outfits. I draw superheroes punching each other. I draw freaking Winnie the Pooh dressed like Deadpool. I mean, like, I'm a freaking
Now that's
kid.
something that I know everybody wants to know. Like, why, or better yet, how did you come up with that concept to combine a bear with Deadpool? Because it's huge. Everyone loves it. Everybody loves it. So,
It's me and a buddy were just kind of talking about it. I don't know why. We just like Deadpool, and just kind of came up with this silly idea. And I was like, you know what? Let's just do it. We'll see. And we did one, did okay. I was like, let's do another one. Then a guy named Zubair Kabani over at Planet Awesome, he was like, oh, I want to support you. Can we do a variant cover? So we did a couple of more for him. And he picked the right ones. He picked like Spider-Man 300 and Spider-Man #1, the homages everybody loves.
yeah.
And that really picked up steam. And then after that, like, I always think like every day people are going to go like, all right, you know what? It's been like 4 years of this stuff. It's been cute, but let's move on.
Yeah.
But every time we do a new one, people love it. And I have a blast. It's also like, if people ever really look at the covers, they'll notice I try to not only homage the cover, but also emulate the style that the original artist worked in.
Yeah, I noticed that.
Yeah.
So if it's Neil Adams, I pull out the little brush pen. If it's Terry Austin, I try to do that cool little Terry sharp line. I really tried to emulate the style, and it's made me a much better artist. Just because it kind of forces you to go like, why were people putting these lines down?
Yeah.
Reasoning. And like I said, and I get almost every day, I just discovered these Pooh books. These are, and then they're like, can I get this one from you? Can I get that one from you? And I go, no. And they're like, well, they're expensive on eBay. And I'm like, well, buy them from me when you see me at a show. Like,
Yeah.
I don't print them to keep them at home. Like, so it's something I fell into. Complete luck. I have a blast with it. And I enjoy people's response to it. That's the.
I remember when the Infinity Gauntlet cover that you did. When you did that one, I was getting hounded by people for that book. Because we used to do on Facebook, we'd do like live auction show, and we were affiliated with my buddy's comic shop, and like guys were sending me like, hey, I got it, look, it's 9.8 CGC. I'm like, oh, fantastic, great. And it was just, people were like, do you have this book? Do you have this book? I mean, everyone fell in love with that cover.
Yeah, that was a big one for us. Like I said, the Spider-Man 300 was really big. We had a few. I did Tigger as Venom, called him Tig'em.
Nice.
That one exploded for us. We've had quite a few. I mean, like I said, it's a pretty simple formula.
Yeah.
Take cool classic covers and homage it. There's no science to it, just try to be funny and do it, in a way that people will appreciate it. And we have our haters, and that's fine,
Yeah.
Oh, they got to get a grip. I mean, even like, Lee Ditsworth? Do you know Lee? He's Arizona boy. He says The Walking Dead Pooh was great too.
Oh, thanks. Yeah. I mean, again, we just kind of came up with stupid stuff and said, no. I literally will wake up one morning and I'll draw a cover just because I want to.
Yeah.
And then I go, hopefully people will like it. And then you post it and people are, I find out that a lot of people's sensibilities are similar to mine. And so they like the same stuff. I mean, I'm a comic geek,
Yeah.
If we were doing, full circle around this office, you'd see my wall of CGC books, and you'd see all my graphic novels back there, and my action figures up there. And I mean,
Do you still play with your action figures?
No, but I take them out the box.
Do you?
Yeah, and that's how we all got into this, because we're fans, we really did. I mean, we were talking about that the other night on our last show, and it's that you could see something lacking, that a lot of people are getting into comics that aren't fans of comics. that are they're working for the big two and stuff, and they're actually kind of even anti-comics in a way that, well, I never read comics. I don't really like comics, but this is how I'm going to do it, and that's why it doesn't work. And I think that's a big part of why a lot of the mainstream books aren't doing so well. I really do. I think that is that lack of passion that really took off in the late 70s and the 80s, and because all those guys love comics too. Even Chris Claremont and John Byrne. These guys grew up reading comics, and just wanted to start drawing them. John Romita Jr. That energy, that passion, that displays, that is carried over, and even all the image guys with the image revolution they did, and then us who came afterwards, like me and Jeff Smith and Terry Moore and Brian Pulido. I think that was that passion that we had too, that we wanted to tell our own stories and our own books, and now that's what like you did back. Now you're going on, what is it, 6 years now, that in 2013. That you and Brian Sharp created Counterpoint Comics. So,
yeah, I don't think I even knew Brian then. Brian came along a little later, but.
Oh, I'm sorry. Okay.
No, it's not a deal. I love Brian.
Yeah. Well, he told us that it was all his idea.
I believe. Brian would do that. Brian would do that.
So what made you get this crazy, insane idea to jump into self-publishing and to become your own, create your own comic company?
So this is, again, just one of those things I fell into. I'm driving in December, and I'm looking at a sign for some movie, and it was right around Christmas, and it said, "Are you Notti or Nyce?" And I worked with the J Company guys, and at that time, the J Company sold a lot of Zenoscope and a lot of Top Cow, Bad Girl books. And so I knew they did really well with Batgirl books, and they had actually a show coming up in Arizona. So I was like, Notti and Nyce, that's a great name for like a pair of hot chicks, I'm gonna do a book for this Arizona show, and my goal was to make $1,000 off one issue, and that was gonna be it. That was my whole goal. I did the first issue. Bill J helped me sell a bunch of the copies. And I walked away with my 1,000. I was like, this is fantastic. This is great. I get about a month later, I get a call from Bill, and he was like, hey, I'm getting all these phone calls from all the people that bought this Notti and Nyce stuff. Now, I got lucky. I was buddies with Ebas, so he did a cover for me.
Nice.
I knew Mike DeBalfo, so he did a cover for me. So I was pretty stacked going in. Those guys were super hot at Zenoscope at the time. So the first issue sold really good. People kept asking for issue 2. I was like, well, all right, I guess I'll do an issue 2. Issue 2 did really good. And then as guys were buying issue 2, I had all these guys coming to my table, picking up their sets of 10, sets of 20, because they were just going to flip them, grade them. I didn't know anything about that part of the business at the time. Yeah. But, issue 2 did really well. And they were like, where's issue 3? And I was like,
oh, man, wait a minute. Yeah.
Well, also, I was very excited to have some cash in my pocket after issue 2.
Yeah.
And I realized that I had used up every favor I had. So issue 3, I would have to pay everybody their full rates to get awesome covers. And that was kind of my watershed moment. I was like, you know what? It's now or never. I'm going to take this chance. And we did issue 3, and that's kind of when I realized there's something here. And then we did issue 4 for San Diego Comic-Con, and it exploded. So it was a 6-month period where we did 4 issues, and I realized, oh crap, I'm kind of a publisher now.
Yeah.
And so, again, had like the smallest of goals with it, and me and my buddies were like, we talk, and I go, people are going to get tired of this. Like, it's something new, everything is a fad for a little while, and then people kind of go, all right, this is cute. Now it's on to the next new thing.
Yeah.
And it's just been going and going and going. And every time I think, oh, you know what, we've drained as much out of this as it possibly can, I mean, it's Notti and Nyce. It's kind of always been a silly book. We've done it for fun. The guy that helps me write it, Terry Sala, he knows we're just kind of being goofy. But people just keep picking it up and keep buying it.
But it's fun,
Yeah.
you know, and it is escapism. It's fun, like you were saying. It's if you can't have fun in comics, I don't know where you can have fun. You know what I mean?
And let's be honest, you know, guys love sexy chicks with boobs, and they support. I mean,
Yeah, they're like fun sandbags.
Yeah. Honestly, I don't know if 80% of the people that buy Notti and Nyce have ever cracked it. I think they go to CGC or CBCS and you know, sit in somebody's collection as a nice, clean 9/8.
But you don't care.
I mean, again, yeah. I mean, as a publisher, my job is to sell books.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because it is a business, right? I mean, Marat, it's a business.
Definitely. And I have my passion projects, and luckily the publishing for the last, you know, 5-6 years has really allowed me to get to the point where I'm actually going to be able to pursue a passion project and do it the way I want to do it, and hire the inker I want to be inked by, and hire the colors that I want to be colored by, and not have to worry about getting it out and getting it done in a certain time because I've put so much money into it. I'm just going to do it right and then put it out, and then fingers crossed, hope people support it when I do finally come out with it. In the meantime, you know, I draw covers all the time on a daily basis, and you know, I love going out to conventions, and you know, I've been blessed being out there and meeting all the fans, and you know, getting to know people like, you know, you, Billy, and you, Niall. You know, just met a lot of cool people doing the con circuit for the last 5-6 years.
Yeah, you know, and it really is. It's a great way to make a living. This industry.
So now that we've talked a bit about Notti and Nyce, how about we're going to premiere your Kickstarter video on the show so the viewers can see a little bit what it's about, and then if we can actually get into this campaign that you have going on. So, all right, guys, I'm going to play the video right now for Notti and Nyce, the Zombie King Gambit. All right, Marat. So you're at $45,269. You have 341 backers. Tell us about this. Where are we at with Notti and Nyce, the Zombie King Gambit?
So this is really a blast because not only is it one of my favorite stories, but it's also all the guys involved in it are buddies of mine. I drew a part of it, and a guy named Dietrich Smith, who's worked over at Dynamite Entertainment and Boom Studios, and Marvel, actually, and DC.
Oh, very cool.
Yeah, he's done The Outsiders, he's done What If stuff, he's done The Bionic Man, Battlestar Galactica, a book called The Destroyer, Shaft. He's worked on a bunch of stuff, but he's also a buddy of mine. He's actually an X-Extreme guy as well. So he did some of the art. A guy named Adolfo Corona, who's inking Rob Liefeld on Major X, and Brett Booth over at Valiant on Bloodshot right now. He's also one of my best friends. He's
awesome, too. He's awesome.
Oh, he is fantastic and one of the sweetest guys you'll ever meet, and an amazingly talented artist. He inked it. A guy named Jacob Bear, who also just had a successful Kickstarter, also did some of the inks. My buddies Anthony George and Sean Forney did the coloring. So, and then obviously we have a cover gallery.
Oh, nice.
Too.
Oh, you said Sean Forney did coloring?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Fantastic.
Yeah, Sean's a great guy.
Yeah, we have Sean coming on next week, right?
Yeah, I believe he's our guest on Monday.
Excellent.
Yeah, great guy, and he just had a Kickstarter that's just ended that also was very successful. And so this is a fun book. It's 48 pages. It's the whole story. Like I said, great covers. Ebaz, DeBalfo, Dan Mendoza, a guy named Kendrick Lim, who comes from the Art Germ studio. Who else we got? Ryan Kincaid just did a cover for us. So we decided to put this book out, and we hit our goal in 2 minutes. So,
2 minutes.
Yeah, I remember seeing the post.
Fantastic. I mean,
Yeah.
you can also line up working with you, but it is gorgeous looking, man.
thanks, man. No, we're really proud of it, and I think people are gonna love it. And we pride ourselves on fulfilling as fast as possible. We get these books, like we're gonna be printing books starting next week, even though we still got time going in the campaign.
Nice.
We want to fulfill stuff right away.
Yeah.
I know people. I back Kickstarters,
Mm-hmm.
so I know what it's like to sit there and wait for books.
Yeah.
I think fulfillment. Brian Polito, who's the king of Kickstarters.
Yeah.
He's kind of a mentor. Talk to Brian all the time. We're both Arizona guys, and he's all about customer service and quality, and he kind of has always pressed that point, and I definitely agree with him. I always say no fans, no career. So
Yeah.
So I think people are gonna love the book. It's funny. I think it's laugh out loud funny. There's stuff in there that's still cracks me up. I wrote and lettered it, so
Well, you got a great team,
No. So we're proud of it. We're definitely excited about it. We definitely didn't expect this kind of. We've had successful Kickstarters, but not this level. So thankful. Like literally, like wowed by it every day. Mandy will tell you, my fiance. I walk in there and I'm always like, "Can you believe this?" Like,
yeah.
easy, like, because I always have. I remember standing in line with my mom when I was a young 4 or 5-year-old for hours to buy some bologna, because that's how it was in Russia at that time. This is the 70s. So I always have that in the back of my head. And so I realized how blessed I am that people are giving us their hard-earned money and trusting us that we're going to deliver the product. So, it's definitely a blessing. I'm excited. People love it. We get tons of great feedback from our fans, and,
So is this by far right now let's say dollar amount, your most successful Kickstarter?
Yeah. Our first Notti and Nyce we did was our most successful one until now. Then we did a book called Savage Eve.
Yep.
And then that did pretty well, but not anywhere near this level. Then we did a Notti and Nyce spinoff called Battle Fairy and the Yeti.
Mm-hmm.
Nice.
I was just like, I want to write a book about a fairy and a Yeti teaming up. And so we did it, and it was very successful. And we're doing another one this fall, a follow-up to that book. And then we decided, let's go back to, Notti and Nyce and do this. And it's by far our most successful already.
Yeah.
Very
Well,
cool.
now this is your 7th Kickstarter. So what advice can you give others who are considering crowdfunding their own book? Like, for instance, what is the one thing that stands out most to you that you did right? You learned to do right,
I always tell people, you got to find your niche or niche, however you want to pronounce it. What works for me won't necessarily work for the next guy. What works for you, Billy, won't necessarily work for me. So you got to find what your fans want from you. Once you figured that out, once I figured out, I was like, you know what? I can give them all the Batman prints from here to eternity, but people want my Deadpool stuff.
Yeah.
So if you come to my table at Comic-Cons, you'll see it's very Deadpool centric. Because I feel fan base that loves their Deadpool stuff. People want Pooh books from me. They want, Hardlee Thinns or, Hot Chicks, Notti and Nyce.
Yeah.
So I can give my fans what they've told me they want from me. I don't try to go well, now I got to be, avant-garde and this is my noir approach to a book. Like this is, I'm here to entertain.
Yes.
And there'll come a time where I want to do something that's, my magnum opus or, whatever it is, my passion project. And when that time comes, I'm going to try to see if my fans like it. But ultimately, find what works for you. And also, be smart about it. Don't, look at what other people are doing. I study everybody's Kickstarters. I study, I go on the Lady Death Kickstarter and see what they're doing. I'll go on, Jimmy Palmiotti's Kickstarters when he was doing a bunch of them. Okay, what's working for Jimmy? What can I apply to mine? One Kickstarter, there is a science to it. There is thought behind all the stuff. It's not just, throw a sexy cover on there and, it's going to sell itself. You see a lot of guys that have Kickstarters that make, and again, Kickstarter that makes $3,000, $4,000, $5,000 is spectacular. It's people giving you $3,000, $4,000, $5,000.
Yeah.
But
agree.
And I would be happy walking away with the 5 because that was our goal. At 5, we can make a few bucks and we can print up the books and we can fulfill and be super happy.
Yeah.
But I see guys that they want to do, a straight superhero book and sell it to, to their fans on Kickstarter. Not even their fans, just fans on Kickstarter.
Yeah.
Well, I'm a comic fan. Unless your book is spectacular, if I can go into the store and buy a book of Spider-Man or Daredevil or Batman or whomever drawn by an artist that's comparable or better than you, why am I going to pay 2-3 times as much for your book?
Right.
So it's like, that's not what Kickstarter is. There's a certain kind of fan that supports books on Kickstarter. And so do your market research. That's kind of that's my best advice. We all want to be creative. And look, there's days I wake up and I go, I don't want to draw a Pooh parody cover today. I don't want to draw, a girl in a bikini. I just want to draw 2 guys battling it out with fists and guns and swords, and that's what I want to draw today. But then, one is going to help pay my rent, and the other one is, me just going to be doing what I want. Then I always approach my career, especially now since I've been seasoned. It's a job. It's how I make my living. And if you walk into your 9-to-5 job and you clock in, there's stuff you got to do.
Yeah.
I love it, but you got to do it. So I approach my stuff the same way. And, Mandy, God bless her, there's some nights where I'll finish up what I have to do and I'll sit in my office and I'll be drawing, 2 guys just punching each other. And Mandy will be like, "Are you done working?" And I'm like, "Yes." Why aren't we hanging out? I was like, "Oh, but I want to draw now." This is having fun, So that's my advice. Find what works for you. That's first and foremost,
That's great advice, and we never heard that, right, Niall? In the
No,
16 we've done, we've never heard that. And now let's talk about probably the biggest part of Kickstarter, and Niall's probably his favorite, mistakes. Right, Niall?
Oh, definitely. I mean, you had to have had a couple mistakes that come your way that you've learned that you'll never do again. What would you recommend? If I was saying to you, all right, man, I need to do this, but what don't I do?
Don't overpromise and underdeliver. I'd rather, tell you your book's going to ship in June and get it to you at the end of May, let's say. Or, okay, let's say right now. I think we got our books said they're going to be delivered by August. Now, we have every intention of having those books in people's hands by the beginning of June.
Nice.
That's our goal. But if I tell you the book is going to be there in June and you get it in August, you're going to be like, this guy's an ass. He lied to me, or he made me wait an extra 3 months.
Yeah.
So that's the one thing about Kickstarter. The book is done. Every book Kickstarted, we've had the book at least in black and white finished.
Nice.
So we take what we earn from one Kickstarter. We obviously have to take some money to pay our bills, but we roll it right into the next one. You know, we have another one coming, which I think we'll talk about in a little while. Later, a new project. I mean, I think everything we made from Savage Eve #4, we rolled into cover artists and interiors for this new book. We didn't take anything home. You know, so my thing is deliver. You know, if you want to build it successful and you want people coming back, you know, you can take a person for a ride one time, but most people aren't coming back for that second ride.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Like, you know, I'm for, like, you know, you get one time at bat.
Mm-hmm.
Better hit a single, because if you strike out, you know, the coach is not putting you back in the game.
Yeah,
So,
I've got a couple out there, and I love back at these Kickstarters or Indiegogos, you know, whatever I see I like, and I'll back. But there's a couple I have out there that are straggling, I think, on over a year now.
Yeah.
And it's just like, you know, every couple months I'm getting just like, oh, hey, we're still, and I think the issue was their book wasn't, I know with Kickstarter, your product has to be at a certain point for them to approve it. And, you know, they must have been like at the complete bare minimum, because it's like, oh, got another 2 pages done. Like, another 2 pages done, dude. It's over a year.
Yeah. You can't do that. You can't.
well, like I said, if you're just trying to kind of take people's money and run, I guess you could. But I really realized Kickstarter and, you know, crowdfunding in general, it's kind of the way a lot of people get their books now.
Oh, yeah.
They're not excited. Look, I have more dispensable cash right now than I've ever had in my life. I go into the comic book store almost every week with money in my pocket and wanting to buy stuff.
Yeah.
And I usually walk out with back issues because there isn't cool new stuff that I want to buy.
Right.
I mean, what's your take on the industry right now, really? Because, like, my thing is I'm kind of at that. Like, you know, I feel like it's just spitting out material. Like, we're an assembly line. Let's start spitting out material without the care and the thought.
Yeah, I think there's something. It's just a cool factor. There's, like, when you pick up a comic book, and sometimes things are cool, and you don't know why they're cool, but they just don't. You look at something, you go, you know, it might not be drawn the best, it might not be colored the best, but I love this image.
Yeah.
Or this is really cool. I mean, that's what you got from 60s and 70s and 80s, and, you know, even the 90s books that people try to belittle, they were cool because we're doing the type of books we wanted.
Exactly.
We were on the type of stuff we wanted to buy. We were writing the type of stuff we wanted to buy. There's a reason, you know, She had such a great fan base. People wanted that. You were doing a passion project. You loved comics, and you did a comic that you wanted to do, and it was one you would probably buy if you saw on the stands at the time.
Yeah.
You know, so again, I don't think you have, like you said, Billy, there's not that many comic book fans drawing comic books now. Like I said, fantastic illustrators, guys who can draw circles around me, you know, every day of the week and twice on Sunday. But there's a connection that you have as a creator with your fans.
Yes.
That kind of flows through the page.
Yeah.
And the really super successful guys in history, from Jack Kirby to the Buscema's, the John Burns, the George Perez's, the Todd McFarlane's, the Rob Liefelds, Jim Lee's, so on and so forth. They knew what the fans wanted. It was, you know, they have an ability to figure out what the fan wants. And it's the same thing they want.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So put on the page what they love, and it just happens to coincide with what the fans want. And like I said, I don't think there's a lot of that. There's a lot of fantastic illustrators, not a lot of great comic artists. And honestly, like, all these books are too based in reality, in my opinion. Like, people are like, oh, that's not real. And my response is always like, oh, when's the last time you went outside and saw somebody flying over over your house? Like,
yes.
You know, like, none of this is real. Like,
Exactly.
You know, like I said, it's great that you can draw something realistic, but I'll take a Frank Miller Sin City, which is just imagination on a page, over a beautifully illustrated cityscape any day of the week.
Yep.
It's where you get these guys who are, they're doing storyboards for animation or, cleanup or whatever, and they all want to be comic guys. Even guys who do movies, concept art, video guys, they all want to do comics because it's the fun. You can break all these rules. You can do whatever you want. You can put your passion on the page.
Yeah.
And that's what's missing. That's me personally.
Well, you have to have like a director's eye in a sense. Like you really need to tell that story without words. You need to, in like you said, you don't have to be like a Picasso. It doesn't have to be the most amazing illustration because, like you said, the best illustrations, if you can't tell a story, then it's just really good illustration.
Exactly.
And what's cool, like you're saying, like Sin City. Now, here's a difference with a movie like that than like, all right, Avengers movie was fantastic. It's awesome. I love it, right? But I bet if you actually did the market research, you'd probably see that after Sin City, like, I know a bunch of people that weren't into comics, but they went and they bought that. They wanted to read the graphic novel. Like, they wanted to read it after they saw that movie. And that's where I think Frank Miller's, movie adaptations, like, actually brought non-comic fans into the comic world. Where right now what we're getting is just more movie fans.
Yes.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I mean, you can't fault Disney or Warner Brothers or anything. I mean, they're in this to make money, so they don't care about even if they sold 150, 200,000 comics a month, it's pennies compared to what they make off merchandising, and a successful movie. But it's not bringing comic book fans. It's not bringing people out of the movie theater, into the comic store.
Yeah.
I follow a bunch of, retailers online and see what they read. And, I haven't seen one guy go, oh, we got such a huge bump of people coming in asking for Guardians of the Galaxy or Avengers or, or Aquaman. Like, sales don't spike. They don't go up.
No.
People love the movie. They talk about it on Facebook and Twitter, and they Instagram their movie tickets, and
Yeah.
But the second part too was a lot of those fans walk into the stores looking to find, when Iron Man came out and exploded as Iron Man, they want to buy Tony Stark as Iron Man, or they want to see Thor with the long hair and the hammer built Thor, but he's not in the comic anymore.
Exactly.
Thor was a woman. And that's a great storyline, everything like that, a great idea, but that's not Thor. Thor is the god of thunder. He's not the goddess of thunder. They should have created another character for that.
Totally agree. Agree. Like, I have no problem. Look, I love Peter Parker as Spider-Man, and I love that they made another Spider-Man, and his name is Miles Morales. And they didn't churn Peter into Miles Morales. You didn't wake up one day with a new number one, and now, Peter Parker is a different ethnicity.
Right.
Like leave the characters and create new ones. Create great ones. You know what? Black Panther's fantastic.
Yeah.
One of my favorite characters of all time.
Yeah.
Nobody would, ever think about him being, Hispanic all of a sudden.
Right.
Like create new characters. Create the next great character, but stop, retrofitting all the cool old characters. People fell in love with those characters because of who they are.
Yes.
Spider-Man is not the suit. Spider-Man is Peter Parker.
Exactly.
100%. 100%.
But it's like, awesome. Create a new Spider-Man from, fantastic. Beautiful.
Yep.
Diversity is great, but it doesn't mean you don't have to move something aside to bring in something new.
Absolutely.
Without space there for everything.
You're preaching to the choir. I agree with everything you said 100%, and I can see from the responses we're getting, same thing. Everyone says, and everyone we talk to says that. Everyone.
Exactly.
And, but maybe then again, the big two or something like that. And again, I'm a huge fan of both those companies. There's characters, But maybe the comic book divisions are maybe a write-off for them now. They're a tax write-off now.
That could be. I mean, look, I think there might be a future where Marvel isn't publishing comics, but they're licensing them to other people. Hey, this guy, I mean, that could happen. Like, if sales keep going low, you shut the doors.
Yeah.
They have enough source material to do, movies for the next 100 years plus.
Yes.
There's definitely plenty of amazing stories to be told. So you can see, as a business plan, like, all right, you know what? We're just licensing these characters out. Who's going to give us, the highest bid for publishing a Spider-Man? I mean, you kind of see something similar already with IDW doing their Spider-Man kids line and their Star Wars stuff, all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Definitely be a future we head for. And actually, those characters might be in better hands then. You might be getting some views.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, J.C. Vaughn is on it. He said DC did the same thing with Dark Knight. $1 billion in box office, and Bruce Wayne wasn't Batman in the comics at the time.
Exactly.
And he said, and then he's going like Milestone and Valiant, prove we can create new diverse characters without trashing what came before.
Mm-hmm.
And you guys are 100% right.
Yeah.
And Christopher from Moonlight Productions is saying that's because modern comics don't deliver what people see in the films.
Correct.
Again, these people walk in, and the Marvel saying was that, well, we don't create comics for the people in your store. We create comics for the people outside your store looking in, like the people that go to the movies and then come in and want the books. And then the retailers, there was a retailer revolt at New York Comic Con 2 years ago, and the retailer's like, yeah, but those characters aren't in your comics anymore.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's just it's crazy that you have a gift or not a gift, but you have this luxury of reaching and making $1 billion on a franchise from the outside world, and then these people get the chance to come into the stores for our retailers, and the retailers are begging, and the fans, stick with what works. Look at Starlin's, the Infinity War, story arc. Look at Claremont's, what he did with the X-Men. That's what people want. And it works. And they come in, and those characters are gone. And it's frustrating, And as a fan myself, it's frustrating.
Also, I think somewhere along the point, we went from the creators telling great stories and the editors guiding them, but letting them be creative, to almost like the vocal minority telling the editors what they want, and the editors shaking and running to the creators and going, you can't do this, you can't do that. Like,
yeah,
the reason Daredevil became great was Frank Miller came in, his editor believed in him, and let him do his vision, and let him build it, and fans realized this is awesome.
Yeah.
Again, there's a reason. I'm gonna use myself. I'm creative in comics. Never made a movie in my life. I go to watch movies by people who know how to make movies, and that's what they do.
Yeah.
So it's not up to me. I could like it or dislike it, but it's not up to me to tell them what movie to make.
Yeah.
So somehow in comic books, there's this skewed perspective that the fans should, at this point, tell the creative people what they should be doing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So again, yes, do we need fan feedback? Of course. That tells you if you're doing some right, if you're doing some wrong. But you got to let creative people be creative.
Yes.
And you can't tell less creative people, oh, do this or do that or do this. Because then you're not letting them be creative. You don't know what they're capable of because they're in this tiny little box.
Yeah.
And like, oh, I want to do this. I can't do this. Here's the glass wall. Oh, I want to do this. Can't do this. Here's the glass. Oh, can't do that. I can't. Like, it's a tiny box. You don't know what this creator can do. And they pull the plug on everything all the time.
Yeah.
I mean, Dark Phoenix Saga took, 5 years to build? Something like that. Frank Miller's Elektra Saga took 3 years to build. Like, they let these guys build these storylines. The Judas Contract in Titans, which, was one of the best stories we've ever had in comics. It literally took 3 years to build, I believe, like between introduction and the final payoff. You gotta let people build the story. Where now it's like a book gets to issue 4 and it's not selling, and so people go, let's pull the plug, and we're going to repackage it and put it out with a new number 1.
Yeah.
I remember when Todd McFarlane's Spider-Man number 1 came out, I was like, oh my God, a new Spidey number 1. I'll actually get to own one of these.
Yeah, yeah.
And then all of a sudden, like, there's 28 Spider-Man number 1s now. Like, who cares? Like, there's only really one that matters now, and it's the one from 61 or 62, whenever it was.
Yeah.
So I think that's the thing. Like, everything gets judged so quickly because we're in this instant social media world where it's either great or it sucks because of the first day of tweets.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. Well,
Well, it seems like this.
I'm gonna run and get my charger because I have my laptop charging. So give me a second. Sorry.
No, no worries. Me and Alex can talk.
Yeah. So I mean, like, it seems like really like decisions nowadays on comics are made to please whatever's happening socially. Like that's the sad part. It's like, oh, this is going on. Okay, we can't look bad. We can't look bad. So we need to make them this way. We need to make them that way. And then it's like, the comic collectors are kind of like, oh, this doesn't make sense. This isn't my character. And it's like, my superhero doesn't need to look like that. They don't need to look like me. I'm not, a Batman's not supposed to have a dad bod or anything. Batman's supposed to be completely physical fit. What he's doing is, he's a human man doing, inhuman feats. I mean, I don't want him looking like me. That's not my escapism. That's not where I'm going. And it's just crazy how they just are conforming everything just because they don't want the finger pointed at them. And that's, I think, where they're getting. It's like, oh, well, if we bring this person and we bring that person in, people that aren't fans of comics, they're just kind of like, yeah, that's right. We need to do this and we need to do that. And, I'm not getting into too much detail because I don't want to, shoot myself in the foot with this. But, it's just they're just making decisions that I don't think are helping the industry or the creators. But I think they're helping push what you're doing and what Billy's been doing. What I'll be doing hopefully shortly is now going into the crowdfunding scene. Just take the bull by the horns now. You can do it. And I think it's great because, like, as a comic book fan, like, when I'm pledging for Notti and Nyce, it's like I'm buying from you. I'm buying from the creator, and you're giving it to me. And in the process, we're getting to know each other, and it makes the comic collecting, reading, and everything more personal. So
and the creator's listening to you.
Yeah, the creators are listening.
You're proving you're telling the creator what you want. I mean, we've got some great things going out here. Christopher from Moonlight again says, now everyone is retconning and telling the audience that they're stupid for not wanting it. And Art by Galan said, if I read this one already, or if he said, basically, we create books, characters for the people who aren't buying the books.
Yep.
No, exactly.
And he's spot on. And, Jeff Vaughn said, the MCU proves civilians love continuity as much as we do. But a certain Marvel editor trashes fans who ask for it online. And he says, unfortunate, and he's right.
No, look, I mean, that's a perfect example. Marvel took 10 years of all our lives to build the story they wanted to tell. Mm-hmm. And you know what? We all went along for the ride and loved it and got our payoff that we all wanted.
Yeah.
Like, I haven't talked to too many people who've seen Endgame and said, most people love it.
Yeah. Yeah, and Christopher says Battling Angel Alita was successful because the people who made it were diehard fans of the original and wanted to preserve what made it great. And that was a big part of the X-Men and then the Avengers and even Spider-Man, the big successful ones. And you see the comic films that are successful because they stay true to who the character is. Mm-hmm. With Into the Spider-Verse, they stuck with the Ultimate Spider-Man, with the Miles Morales character, and they were true to him.
They were. It was a good film.
That's what people want, and it's crazy what they do and how they, you know what I mean? How they just they come in like, oh my God, we love it, we love everything about it. Now here's how we're going to change it, and it's infuriating. I've gone through that with She, and I've walked away from 2 producers because of it. That we had film deals. And well, that's not what it is. I mean, one of my producers said, "Well, the movie's just the character's just a little too Asian." I'm like, that's she's a Japanese, a Japanese woman living in America. What the heck, it was just crazy.
Actually, now's a good time for it though, because that's a big push in Hollywood.
Nuts. Anyway, maybe we should get into some fun stuff because we can talk about this all night. And Marat, if you don't mind, you got to come back on because we want to start getting into those, like what's wrong with the comics industry and how can we, as creators and we that have done these crowdfunded books, we want to hear from you. We want to involve the fans and maybe even do a roundtable discussion with a couple of us pros and then some fans too. And I mean, you're just great. I mean, everything you're saying, I'm like, he's right.
Yeah.
And you see everybody too is like, he's exactly right. So, but I know we've been going on for an hour and a half with you now, and I know you have a lot of work to do. Like I said, we could talk to you all night, but because it's
fast. Next time I'll just have the drawing board set up so I can draw while we talk.
And maybe
exactly.
We should definitely do that. Niall, you draw, I draw, and we could just have the cameras pointing to what we're drawing.
We'll drink and draw, and then next we're 3 hours in, freaking mother effing everything, half in the bag. It'll be great.
We'll see, Dampen Ocean and
we'll
Dave
make our girls go out for taco runs at Taco Bell or whatever.
Yeah, maybe we call it a bitch and draw. We just bitch and draw.
So let's get to some fun questions.
Draw. We're just bitching, complaining like crabby old guys. These kids.
It's funny. I was thinking the other day I was driving and I was listening to some music, and then I turned the channel to something new, and I was like, oh man, they don't make music like they used to. And I was like, holy crap, I've become that guy. And then I started thinking, I was like, no, they really don't. It's not as good as it used to be.
It's not.
And
yeah.
that way, I feel that way about comics.
Yeah.
I don't feel that way about movies. I mean, there's amazing classic movies, obviously, but movies are fantastic now.
Yeah.
And CGI just makes everything great.
Yeah.
In ways, they're better than they've ever been. But when it comes to comics, they don't. There's a reason why. If you look, back through my trade paperbacks that I reread constantly, most of them are, from the 70s and 80s, and that's when the creative people were allowed to be their most creative.
Yeah.
And that's when they were at their best. And editors were better editors. Probably just cost myself a lot of jobs, but the editors knew how to guide the ship. They never wanted to be the captain. They were just the co-captain that told the captain, like, you're a little off course. Get the boat back where it needs to be, or you're going to hit that iceberg.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we got a good question here, and since I've got two, Kickstarter crowdfunding veterans on the show, Art by Gallon has just said, okay, so question, coming from a newbie comic creator, I've done one issue on Kickstarter, and number 2 is in progress. Is there a way that you can tell if you're on the right track or not during the creation process? I'm working on, I'm loving what I'm working on. It's a passion thing, but I have no clue if I'm doing things the right way or not.
Well, kind of your supporters are going to kind of tell you. I mean, you got to look. I go out on the convention circuit, obviously, financially. I make a big chunk of my living that way, but beyond that, it's kind of pressing the flesh.
It's like a trial and error thing, you think?
Yeah, like I said, I did a Kickstarter for a book called Blindside a while back. And it was moderately successful. We hit our goal, just barely. But I kind of read the tea leaves. I realized this is not what fans are really going to support long term, even though I would have liked to draw that more than Notti and Nyce at the time.
Yeah.
So, again, I listened to the fans, and I didn't. If 30 people are telling me it's great, but I need to sell 300 copies, that's telling me, it's kind of touch and go, If 300 people are telling me I love this book and I need to sell 300 copies, then I know I'm on the right track. So interact. I mean, it's social media. I put things out on Facebook, on Instagram. I communicate with my fans. I'll ask them, hey, I'm about to homage another Pooh cover. What do you guys think I should do? They're going to tell you.
Yeah.
Comic fans, as we talk about, are passionate about telling you what they like and what they want. So listen to them, interact. Don't. As artists, we're kind of introverted, most of us, and we just want to sit at home and be creative. But in this day and age, that's just a small part of your.
Yeah.
You got to be a salesman, like a showman in a way,
Yeah, well, you got to wear all hats. You really do.
Exactly. I mean,
you wear all hats.
The guy who's a master of that, and Billy, you know it, and now you know it, Brian Polito.
Oh, yeah.
Brian creates a bond. I did a store signing one time, and after the store signing was done and I went home, the store owner called me and he said, This week, everybody who came to the signing asked to have whatever you do put on their pull list. You have made fans for life because I interacted with them.
Yeah.
I had a blast with them. I had fun. We talk comics, the same way I'll talk comics with anybody the same way I'm talking comics with you guys, or movies or sports or whatever I'm passionate about. But when we all do it. We'll all spend money, but if you had a good interaction with somebody, or if you like a player or a movie star, you're happier to give them your money.
Yeah.
Like if there's a movie you really want to see and an actor you don't really like is part of the cast, you'll go see it because you really want to see the movie.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You're not as happy. Like when you love the cast, you're like, take my money. I'll pay double to see this because I love this guy. Like, I'm a huge fan of The Rock. I'll go see a movie because he's the fucking Rock, and
Yeah.
He's awesome. To me, he's awesome. I don't ever care. But then there's other guys where I'm like, I want to see this movie. I don't particularly like this actor, but whatever. This, it's a sequel, and I like the first one. I'll go see the second. So I think that's part of it. When you build fans, not only are you, some of my Brian Sharp, for an instance. Brian was a guy who used to buy my artwork. And we just started talking at conventions, became buddies, and eventually became partners and really good friends. I mean, one of my best friends now. Many of my best friends I met through the industry. So I think part of it is you build bonds, with these people, and they want to support you. They want your product. Nobody's, it's not a GoFundMe. It's I have something you want, and I'm compensated for it, and you're happy to compensate me because you want what I have.
Yep.
There's that relationship. But if you have a friendship, I interact with people all the time. Somebody will say hi on Facebook, and I'll respond. They'll be like, "Oh my God, you responded," and I was like, "Well, you said hi." Like,
Yeah.
I said back, like, it is what it is. Like, I had an extra couple of minutes. If I'm super busy and I don't respond, don't take it personal. But if I'm on Facebook and a message pops up, I'll say hi.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You build these bonds.
You're very accessible, and you could see how much you appreciate them. Like just sitting next to you, and we have fun laughing and stuff, and they feed off of that, and they get that. I mean, right now he's giving some incredible advice.
Oh my God, it's phenomenal advice. I mean, this is great stuff. Yeah.
I mean, I've been blessed, like I said, from guys like Frank Miller and, Howard Chaykin and Roy Thomas, to the Rob Liefelds and the Todd McFarlanes and, the Politos and all the guys I've been able to talk to that have given me amazing advice.
Yeah.
I'm glad to share my experience. Like, can't say everything's going to work for you. You have to find your own way. That's the thing. Like I said, find your niche, find what works for you. I like people,
Yeah.
I like interacting with people,
comics it's like a service industry, you're delivering entertainment, so, and why not, if you can become friends with your fans, why not, and if they're not extreme, and, sometimes some fans can be a little too extreme, but I mean, most of them are pretty laid back, and, they're buying your stuff because they like that stuff. You're creating that stuff because you like that stuff. So you right off the bat, you've got a common interest.
Yeah. Now, Art by Galen said, have you guys ever seen or done it where you run your Kickstarter and then immediately launch an Indiegogo to run for a bit while the Kickstarter funds collect and you finish up the project? If I may answer that, no, we waited till after because we didn't know if Kickstarter was going to get mad at us. We did our Zombie Sama book for 28 days, and we were talking about this through Kickstarter, and we raised $33,000 for my little zombie book with John Broly and my partner. And then 2 weeks later, after we received the funding from Kickstarter, and it was okay, we then launched a 2-week Indiegogo campaign, and we raised since then almost another $35,000. I would wait till you get your funds from Kickstarter personally, and then launch an Indiegogo if you'd like to, or vice versa, because you just don't want them to be upset with you. Say, oh, you're launching another campaign on a competitor's crowdfunding platform, and you don't want to cause any problems with that. But that speaking, Marat, now that you've had the successful Kickstarter, I know you've got 15 days or so left. Would you consider then doing Notti and Nyce as an Indiegogo as well? Because there are fans out there that will only buy Kickstarter, and there are fans that will only support Indiegogo.
No, it's something I've been thinking about a lot. Trying to figure out, like, I'll have to talk to you off the air about it. But if you offered the same kind of rewards, if you offer new variant covers, like stuff like that, like, because again, I'm very conscious of, I see comic books, or the retail end of it, and the fan end of it too.
Mm-hmm.
I see it as it's an ecosystem. And you can't upset the ecosystem. So I'm really careful in not flooding the market. If I'm selling you a collectible, I want to make sure you maintain your value beyond the 30 days it's hot. Going to like the Pooh books, we keep such short print runs of 25 or 50 books.
Oh, that's cool. That's why
we do such short print runs, because I don't want you giving me $25 for a book that's going to be worth $5 when you try to sell it 3 months later.
And one thing I actually say, like, and just kind of jump in real quick to Art's question, and I started really after one of our guests we had on. I started really looking at like kind of the market and how things work in numbers and statistics. And a lot of guys that are rolling their Kickstarter after they finish Kickstarter and literally create that link and roll it over with that dollar amount seem to have less success than guys that take, all right, I was on Kickstarter, and then they just take their crowdfunding campaign and they start fresh on Indiegogo with a $0 amount earned with a goal. Because when they're coming over with 30 or 40 grand already, a lot of guys are like, oh, that's cool, but they already made it, and they move on. And they do switch up the rewards a little bit, or, something I think that Billy did that was really awesome that I haven't seen anyone else do is because of what one crowdfunding group did, both crowdfunding site people are getting that one prize, that one backer gift.
Like all of our stretch goals that we kept hitting, we acted as it was a continuation. All the money when the Indiegogo people kept raising more and more money, upwards of $66,000 now that would come in $67,000. All the people from the Kickstarter who bought it initially, in the very first, they get the same goals. So the Indiegogo people are helping the Kickstarter people, and everyone gets and vice versa. And the Indiegogo people are getting the Kickstarter goal, stretch goals as well. And you got to do it. Like I said, it's a service industry. You got to give the fans, if they're giving money out of their own pocket to support your dream, you've got to give them everything you can. You've got, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Make it fair for them. We're learning, though, some of the things we wanted to create. We can't really do them so cheap here. We have to have them done overseas. So, that's in another 2 weeks. But, so that's when it's my show to see what mistakes I made and all. And I'll even have Debbie, my wife. But now this is great. Like I said, we've had you on for a long time.
Yeah, I was just gonna say, wow.
And we apologize. I know it's fun, but like I said, this is what Niall and I are doing. I know you got work to do. It's a lot earlier for you. For me, at the end of the day, I'm going to have a beer and chill out.
I got a 5:30 a.m. flight to Dallas tomorrow.
Jeez, yeah. So, let's have some fun, right, Niall?
Yeah. So we know that you have a beautiful fiance, and I know that the way you proposed, I heard, was quite on the spot. Was it? Did you propose was it at San Diego Comic-Con?
I did. So my fiance is a huge Walking Dead fan, and I was doing a Extreme Studios 25-year anniversary panel, and Kirkman was the moderator. Robert Kirkman was the moderator. So I talked to only two people that knew besides her mother and my mother, was Rob and Robert. So we were doing the panel. At the end of the panel, Robert Kirkman calls out her name and he goes, "Hey, come up here. You want a free prize?" And Mandy had no idea. She's actually pretty shy. Like if you look at her social media, you wouldn't think it, but she's shy in person. And she walked up there and, I proposed and, part of me thought it was kind of cheesy, but I was like, she's a huge Walking Dead fan. The creator of Walking Dead is involved. And she thinks it's like the best way I could have proposed to her. So it worked out. But, my mind was like, oh, it should be like, ocean, sunset going down.
A magical seagull delivering the ring.
Exactly. But it worked out. So yeah, it was cool. And, the other cool thing was, she always brings this up, is we have tons of video of the proposal.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
that is cool. That is cool.
Terrible, and it's original,
So and it was
San Diego, which has all that stuff. You got the skull and the sunset and the ocean. So.
I mean, was there a point though? You're kind of like, oh shit, what if she says no in front of all these people? Or were you too pumped with adrenaline that's like, she's never going to say no. She's on the spot.
No, I'm not that egotistical. It was actually probably more, I don't want to say anti-marriage, but I don't think she thought about marriage in general than me. So I'm just a guy who kind of makes his choices and goes, well, I've made my decision. I'm just going to go with it. I made a choice for a reason, whatever it is.
Yeah.
If it works out, great. And if it doesn't, then I'll deal with that. And, I just trust my instincts. And they haven't always served me well, but most of the time they have. So.
Well, you got balls of brass, man. I'll tell you that.
It didn't serve me well when I stole those books from Golden Apple way back when.
All right. So what? Marat, so what does the future hold for you? What does the future hold for Kickstarter?
So I'm actually as excited as I am about Notti and Nyce, which I'm very excited about. Our next book is actually, I'm trying to create a character that people really love. Like, Pooh is great, but it's a parody and it's, it's only going to last so long. It's not a character that can possibly last. And, same with parody books are what they are. And Notti and Nyce, they're cute, they're fun, but they're not, I don't think people love the characters. I think people love the concept, the idea, the covers. So I wanted to come up with a character that I think people are really going to gravitate towards and a storyline that has a little more depth and layers to it. So got a book called Pray for the Sinner, and it's P-R-E-Y, not Pray for the Sinner, but Pray for the Sinner. And it's kind of got the Hollywood description for it is, I spit on your grave meets Star Wars. So it's kind of what it is. It's about this female psychologist at a space prison who gets brutally assaulted during a prison break and survives, gains some powers, and goes all throughout the universe on this super bloody, ultra-violent, action-filled revenge spree. And there's layers to the story. And this is like when I was talking earlier, like I want to write something that has a little more depth to it.
Yeah.
I'm really focused on the writing of this. Dietrich Smith, who I mentioned earlier, he's going to be drawing the book, or he is drawing the book as we speak. And he's a fantastic, like when we talk about storytellers, like he's a really great storyteller. He worked in animation. He's worked for all the companies I mentioned earlier. And I think it's a great visual. Like, I went through a bunch of character designs and I came up with one that I really like. And everybody I've sent it to, because we've got Mike DeBalfo's doing a cover. We got Mike Crome doing a cover. Paulo Pantanella just did a cover. Richard Ortiz, Ebass is doing a cover. It's a list, Tyler Kirkham's supposed to be doing a cover. Billy Tucci eventually is going to be doing a cover. But
I do anything you want, man.
I appreciate you, brother. But everybody that I've sent the design to, people love the visual. So I think this is like a character people are going to get excited about.
Well, I'm in. I want to do a cover for it. When can we expect it to launch?
We're looking at June 16th.
Oh, wow. So that's
nice.
We're hoping, ideally, we are going to fulfill at least 75 to 80% of this Kickstarter by June. So June 16th is actually the amazing Las Vegas Comic-Con. and we're hoping to do a live panel and launch it from the panel.
Oh.
That's kind of our plan. Now things can change between now and June, but that's our goal. So no, I'm super excited about it. I'm super excited.
Will you come on once that launches as well?
Oh heck yeah!
Panel and everything that week.
You guys are in trouble. I'm gonna be like Skyping you guys.
All right.
We're in the middle of the show, and his screen's gonna pop up now that his NDI's ported. Once you come on, you just come right into our broadcast.
I promise we won't have a whole bunch of technical difficulties next time. And
that's fine.
All these people pissed off at me and Niall, and we just cut them all out. And they're like, "Oh, I guess he's not doing it."
They'll come back. We've been shooting the shit for a while. They've had time to go have dinner and come back.
Oh yeah, we have quite a few playbacks in here, so we're at 143. So
that's fantastic.
Yeah.
Everybody who's watching and supported the Kickstarter or even just checked it out, can't tell you how much I appreciate it. I honestly, this is like a little kid getting to do comics. You know, It's the only thing I wanted to do. Well, I wanted to play basketball, but I'm white, I can't jump, I'm not that fast, and I didn't have a great jump shot. So, that wasn't going to work out for me. So comics was kind of the only thing I really wanted to do that was realistic. So the fact that I get to do this is just a blast.
Yeah.
Really do enjoy it. So I do appreciate everybody,
And then ask the girlfriend to marry you in front of a giant room full of people and have them all applaud. And
she is way above my pay grade.
Come on, she's a doll. I think she's a sweetheart, but you're something else, buddy. So
I appreciate you, buddy.
I think it's a perfect match.
Thanks, buddy.
So now, okay, can we ask you a question now that you like to ask everyone? I know you're
would you like to do the honors this episode?
The what?
Yeah.
Would you like to do the honors, my friend?
May I?
Yeah, why not? We'll switch it up a bit.
So, Marat, do you believe in UFOs, ghosts, or even Bigfoot?
Okay, I believe in UFOs.
Yeah.
I believe in Bigfoot.
Don't do it.
Don't
say it. End stream.
Andy screaming from the roof, say yes. She totally believes in ghosts.
She hears it. Right? Not when I go through this all the time. Like, I believe in ghosts. Niall's seen a ghost in my house. I have an old Victorian, so my house is haunted. That's a whole nother story. And we're going to have a Halloween special. And even if Mandy wants to come on, too, we're going to do like a horror, like a Friday the 13th. Or a ghost.
Reason she's all about the ghosts. So
we all have to have like green lights and purple lights and candles, and we're going to do
Ouija boards.
Yes, no Ouija boards.
We'll do a Ouija board on the green screen, and my head will move around as things are going.
Floating it. But Bigfoot, you really believe in Bigfoot?
Look, they're discovering animals that we didn't know existed all the time at the bottom of the ocean. There's all this land that nobody ever goes to. It's that hard to believe. I don't believe in the Indian legend of a bad spirit, Sasquatch kind of Bigfoot. I believe there could be something
like Harry and the Henderson Bigfoot,
an undiscovered giant ape out there still.
Yeah, exactly. Like a deformed ape could be a Bigfoot, or the next progression of an ape that we just haven't seen because,
Yeah.
So I believe in something like that. I don't believe in, like you said, Harry and the Henderson's Bigfoot. Or
I would love that. I'd be put me on your shoulders, and I would just walk around on this Bigfoot's shoulders.
Yeah. So,
all right, Harriet, so what's the scariest thing you've ever seen or happened to you?
Some of my exes?
No.
I'm kidding. Scariest thing, I used to I live in Arizona, so some neighborhoods have scorpion problems. And I don't think I've ever been more freaked out than I was sitting watching TV one night, and I feel something pop on my head and then pop on my chest and then pop on the man parts. And I looked down, and it was a scorpion that fell out of a vent, the air conditioning vent that was over me, and was just sitting on my I had clothes on, but he was sitting on my junk with that stinger, and I was like, am I really going to die by being stung by a scorpion in the weenus? So I don't think I've ever been more scared in that particular moment.
What did you do?
Probably something stupid. I slapped it away as fast as I could.
Screaming.
Yeah, exactly. So, I mean, that could have worked out really bad because I'm sure that scorpion stinger was way faster than me.
Oof.
You might have been shocked from the fall as well. I don't think that was a planned dive. I think.
Wow, that's some scary shit right there. I'll tell you that.
Oof. I don't know, man. That's.
Well, Marat, we're coming on 2 hours, bro, and I think can we let him go, Niall?
Yeah. We appreciate everyone that came on tonight.
Guys, it's been a total blast. Anytime you
fantastic.
want to have me back on, love to do
We'll
it.
go to when Pray for the Sinner comes.
Mhm.
We'll have you on for that, and then we'll also have you on for a bitch and draw, and we'll just sit draw and just bitch about everything, and just interact with people and have some. It's all in fun.
I'd love it.
This is our 16th episode. It's getting bigger every episode. We had some great guests. You're definitely up there, one of the top ones, brother.
Appreciate it, guys. Like I said, it's been fun.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So
it's been a
you want to
blast.
share? You want to tell everyone your Instagram, your Twitter handle, all that stuff?
It's Marat Mychaels on Twitter. It's Marat1200 on Instagram, and just Marat Mychaels on Facebook. That's pretty much it.
And Counterpoint Comics at Instagram too.
Yeah.
We do, yeah. We have Counterpoint Comics on both Facebook and Instagram. But I'm probably way more active on my personal stuff than the Counterpoint stuff. I gotta up my social media game a little bit.
Yeah, we all do. I see.
Yeah.
But, hey guys, we appreciate you guys joining us tonight. Make sure to subscribe to our channel, like the episode, share the episode, and remember there's a little bell that you're going to want to ding so that you get all the notifications when we're live and we've uploaded some new video. And Marat, one thing I really is I actually am going to be in the process. Me and Billy have talked about this. We're actually going to be uploading as we go on with the episode like a crowdfunding how-to video, and I'd love if you wouldn't mind coming on that video as well, just to give some good advice to guys like Art out there who's been in the chat and who's been joining the conversation on just good tips and tricks on how to get your crowdfunding process moving in the right direction.
Yeah, I'd love it. Totally in.
Thank you, brother. Well, listen, you guys have a nice dinner. Niall, the brain, as always, thank you for all that you've done. And Frank out there, Frank, our mystery man who no one gets to see, that keeps...
Up on, Frank. Come on, Frank.
Where's
Come
Frank?
on. Come on. Put your pants back on and come on. He's been chafing today, so.
Well, thank you guys so much. And Frank, if you don't mind, with your pants off, pantless Frank, if you could throw up Marat's, the Kickstarter for Notti and Nyce so people could see that. And, bro, it was great for both of you guys. Thank you all so much. Then, Niall, how do you do this? Then you restream a high def one or something? How does the process go? We kind of go away for...
Oh, no, Facebook then processes it in the whatever I'm recording it in. I mean, YouTube processes it. I don't know why I said Facebook. Yeah, so it'll probably be, after the live stream, it goes up for record and for anyone to watch in like 30 minutes.
Awesome.
Yes.
Well, thank you, guys. You guys are awesome. I'm going to go eat some dinner myself now.
All right, guys.
Marat, thanks a million, man. Great luck with it. You're kicking ass. Keep doing it. And really can't wait for Pray for the Sinner. That sounds fantastic.
Yeah, it sounds awesome. If you ever need a test reader, send it our way.
Yeah. Thank you, buddy.
All right, guys. Everyone have a great night.
All right. Good night.
Hey guys, thanks again for tuning into Crowdfunding Comics. We look forward to hanging out with all of our crowdfunding fans every time we go live. And don't forget to click the link below and subscribe to our channel. And there's a little bell, you may want to hit that too. This way you get all the great notifications when we go live and when we upload some awesome content. You want to follow us? Sure, go right ahead at Twitter at CrowdFundComics with an X, Instagram, Crowdfunding Comics, and Facebook at Crowdfunding Comics. Till next time, crowdfunding fans, we'll see you soon.